on. But Ted is an example of how much good a really good lawyer can do. He worked for many years as Deputy Attorney General in the California Justice Department on consumer protection cases, amongst other cases. But in the past 10 years, Ted founded and is Executive Director of the Public Good Law Centre, which aims to level the playing field in court for consumers, debtors and students. Ted is also a great legislative and policy advocate, and that's really how I met Ted. I met Ted when he was trying to organise advocates around the issue of zombie debt, aiming to rein in the worst excesses of bad actors in the debt collection industry. I myself have seen many clients who came in because their wages had been garnished when they didn't have any debts at all, or they hadn't been served, or their debts had been discharged. And through his work, the Fair Debt Buyers Practices Act was passed, and it's a critical step in clearing up the field of these bad actors. He's one of the few people I've ever met who can truly build coalitions and makes groups of individuals and organisations much more than the sum of their individual parts. He inspires me, and I aspire to be a lawyer like him one day, and be as passionate as he is in protecting the consumers in the state and beyond. He's a rare bird. His energy is transformative for the people who work for him and the issues he works on. So please give it up for my lovely friend Ted Mermin. But actually, I need to give him an award, so I'll do that first.
I'm supposed to give this to you, Rachel. You'll understand why Rachel Turp is holding this in a moment. All right. Thank you, staff. Good evening, gathered luminaries. I am honored to be pitching the first half of this double tedder with Ted Gullickson. Thank you to staff. You always promised revenge for making you do all that work on the Debt Buying Act, and now you got it. I will accept this award, and the reason that Rachel's going to stand here for just a moment, on the condition that everyone here recognize the degree to which it was the product of an effort by many dozens of people over not 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years, or even 4 years. It was the work of even monitoring, interpreting, and even amending the law continues today. We have 2 bills related to the Fair Debt Buying Practices Act that are going forward this year in the legislature. Without the Berkeley Law students, including this Berkeley Law student who drafted the bill in the first place, and the staff of the East Bay Community Law Center who conceived and drafted and edited the bill, without the sponsorship and the tireless work of the legislative unit of the Attorney General's office who co-sponsored the bill, and without the active and powerful coalition, notably including the California Reinvestment Coalition and its members, that came together to move the bill, the Fair Debt Buying Practices Act would never have happened. I recognize, however, that you needed someone named Ted to give this award to. And so I am here today. So funnily enough, especially given Steph's generous, not to say science fiction-oriented introduction, it is precisely about building coalitions that I want to talk for a moment this evening. First, to those of you who work in the financial industry, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here today. That you are here today says something about your individual, personal dedication to fairness and to justice. It says that you know it is not good for anyone, if consumers are being sued over debt that they never owed, or if online payday lenders are trying to lure consumers into taking out 8 or 9 or 10 payday loans in a row and paying $500 in fees to pay off an original $250 loan. You know that. And here's the thing. You've probably done something about it that we just don't know about, and that the public may never know. For every one of those times that you quietly stopped an unfair practice, that you discouraged a profitable but deceptive idea, that you changed something from what you could do to what you should do, thank you. Second, to the clients, the consumers, who are the whole point of any coalition focused on consumer protection. Welcome to all of you who have ever been a consumer, right? I'm talking about everyone in the room. I want to talk for a moment about one of you, an EPCLC client named Sharon Randall, who last Tuesday in the California Senate Judiciary Committee spoke powerfully and movingly about a wage garnishment that had been imposed on her for a debt she had never heard of. She said that during her testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee, she said that that day had changed her. She felt that it was a privilege and an honor for her to be there, to be able to take part in making new laws, to actually have a chance to influence the laws that had so much influence on her life. It made her look at things in a different way. Well, I would say it is a privilege and an honor to work on behalf of Ms. Randall and on behalf of consumers in the state and on behalf of everyone in this room, because that is the secret sauce, the secret, powerful secret. We are all consumers, and if all consumers ever managed to get together, the force would be one to be reckoned with. And that brings me to the third group, the consumer advocates in this room. To those who work for little pay and often little recognition. With people whose dilemmas are the greatest, two things I have to say to you. One, keep on doing what you're doing. Two, don't work alone. Don't keep your head down and stay in your corner and say what I do is good enough. I'm doing what I can. If you see a systemic problem, don't just help your clients try to avoid it. Because there are tens of thousands of people out there. There are 38 million people in California out there, of whom tens or hundreds of thousands or millions have the same problem and don't get your help. If there ought to be a law against it, write that law. We did. And if you've been following these things, if the explosion of bill ideas that has since come out of the East Bay Community Law Center in the past couple of years will attest, there's a very effective mantra in there. If Mermin can do it, you can do it. That's their motto. And it's a good one. It's very true. Now, as it turns out, writing the law is not all that you have to do. You have to get co-sponsors and an author and media coverage and allies and a lot of other things. And you soon realize that what you need is a coalition. And after months or even years of building that coalition, if you are lucky, your bill is still recognizable and you don't hate it too much, and it is now law, and the coalition has an award ceremony or two, and then everybody goes home and rests up. And the next year, there might be another great idea, but we're too tired to put together a whole new coalition, much less try to block a bill, some other bill, that would make our clients' lives harder. Well, what if you didn't have to put together a new coalition every year? What if there were a standing California Consumer Coalition that each year met and decided on new and needed initiatives? What if we took the remarkable work of the California Reinvestment Coalition in bringing together more than 300 organizations focused on improving the financial lives of low-income Californians and expanded it? What if that coalition covered not only groups focused on low-income consumer finance, but also groups focused on the Augean stables of the auto industry, and telecommunications, and toxics in consumer products, and immigration consultant fraud, and the Lochnerization of the First Amendment, and public health, and the multiplicitous, multifarious, variegated, and splintered groups that all work, all too separately, on different aspects of what we call consumer protection. I know, it sounds huge and messy and undoable and a little bit crazy. But you know, there are some crazy dreams out there. 10 years ago, we might have asked, what if national law schools actually offered a course in consumer protection law? They didn't. There was none when I was in law school. They do now. What if legal service providers actually had consumer law practices? They didn't. Now look around the room. They do now. What if there were a national law journal dedicated to consumer protection law? Well, raise your hand, Luke Diamond. If you are interested in making just such a thing happen, talk to that gentleman right there. He's on the cusp of launching the Berkeley Consumer Law Journal. Here's a good one. What if 10 years ago, you could have asked, what if there were an entire federal agency dedicated to the consumer side of consumer finance? Wouldn't that be something? So maybe, by comparison, a broad, standing consumer coalition isn't as nutty as an idea as it sounds. Maybe, in a few years, you'll think nothing of picking up the phone and proposing an idea, of sending out an alert about a piece of legislation, of looking a legislative staffer in the eye and asking, yes, the industry may like it, but have you thought about how the consumer coalition will react? To everyone in this room, let me know if you're interested. I mean all of you, each of you in your own way, as an organization, as an individual, because we need everyone in this room to do what you can do to make the marketplace more fair and less threatening, more of an opportunity, less of a danger zone for consumers. For low-income consumers of financial products, yes, but for all consumers, for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. That was great.